sign sheet?
Yes, that's what I, this one. or this one.
No, this one, that's the one you signed as an agenda.
When you get on.
I'm just a guess. I'll just-
Just sign your name.
Hello,
underneath.
how are you?
That's all. Just Put it anywhere. Put it on the,
Yes.
under the last.
Hello,
yeah.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Lou, you want to sign our signing sheet right there? Our debt sheet right there?
This is for
Yep.
you. Yes.
Lou, you could sign our signing sheet right there.
Right.
How are you? Good to see you.
Likewise.
Hi, Amaya. Hi, Ross.
Hello?
Can you hear okay? Ross, you're muted.
Yes, I can hear, I can see, yes.
Amaya. I'm up to
Hi.
date. Hi, I'm up to virtual.
Excuse me?
That I marked you in present.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I can hear.
Same for you, Ross.
Sorry.
This is like thing back there. I just found the attendance sheet.
As soon as, are you logging in?
I was gonna say, should I use that or should I log in separately?
You can manage this, it's fine.
I can manage that. It's way easier. For one less person.
I don't do
One less
that.
login to
One
manage.
more, yes, thank you. Do you want to make, I only say co-host in case we, we're good. Hi, Charles, how are you? We're marking you present.
Yes, hi, I'm here.
We're signing you in. And Andy Elaine's, you're a community resident.
He's
Yes, ma'am. Windward Gardens.
Thank you. We marked you in.
Thank you.
Here's real short.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not much.
No, I lied. It could be a better time. So I couldn't reach percent. She said it, she sent an email. I don't see her yet. I just.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, yeah, Joe. Hello.
Hey, Joe. So why don't you sit on the side so that everybody on Zoom can see you?
Very good.
Wave to everybody. Joseph Patty from DOT. In case you didn't know.
I'm sure.
Everybody knows
It's a new season.
you. Know the old story, everybody, we're like the Cheers bar. Everybody knows your name.
I do get that.
Okay.
I'm good.
You're ready. We're ready. What am I doing? 6:05. You're welcome to do that. You're on the floor for vote, but. Virtual.
I'm just testing to see if my microphone works. As soon as I touch the microphone, you can't see anything.
We don't see you, but we hear you.
Oh, well, I'll even get so you can see me again.
We saw you before. There you go. Hi, how are you doing?
How y'all doing?
I'm sorry.
Or related, were you at the Met about 3 weekends ago.
I was.
I randomly saw two behind us like, nah, we're not fighting, we're not there.
It's a small city.
It's a small, it's a small, it's a big town, but small.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I think we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. This is the September 2024 meeting of the Transportation Committee of Queens Community Board 2. My name is Riley Owens. I am the chair of the Transportation Committee. I am joined here by Debbie McCliner, who is the district manager. Thank you and welcome. Marianne, hello.
Hi.
Members of the Transportation Committee and community board members, Joe Patty of the DOT. Welcome back, everybody, from a great summer. Not too much on the agenda at the outset. So we might just go right to public comments first. Lou, you're signed up. Would you like to go right away?
I can do that. Stay here or?
Wherever you're comfortable, if you want to sit at the table, feel free.
Yeah, you're not quite on
So-
camera, but you know, if you want to go forward a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, whatever works.
This way everybody can see you.
Sorry.
No, you can, whatever's comfortable, since you're on.
Thank you very
camera.
much. And I'm gonna summarize something that we've been writing. I'm a retired transportation planner, Sunnyside resident. I followed the One LIC plan development very closely. And there are questions I know about whether it's more than the neighborhood can accommodate. But I want to focus on one aspect of the draft secret work scope, which I know the community board is trying to get its arms around this week. What they've outlined is a kind of ordinary seeker analysis of the different components of the plan. But for transportation particularly, a lot of the objectives are really interdependent, and they come together on the street and the curbside and so forth. And closely reading the work scope, it's not clear that the analysis is going to do more than identify impacts and mitigations, and then go beyond that to see what can be done to reconcile the good objectives that are contained in the description, or if it just comes to the end and say, look, these impacts, these mitigations, you can't do this unmitigated impacts. There's an integrated step that really should be strengthened in the draft work scope. I'll be submitting my own comments as an individual, but I just wanted to share that with the board. And the board's been given very little opportunity to really inject itself into this process. So that's it.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you very much. Where the full board meeting is going to have a full discussion of this phase of the draft scope of work. On Thursday, will you be there?
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I only have a few comments, but I'll move these.
All right, well, thank you very much. I did review all the transportation stuff, transit stuff within. So I look forward to public comments and see what your thoughts are.
I can say,
Oh, yeah. please.
Just so you know for the record.
Sure, and somebody on Zoom is named iPhone 128. Gina, can you tell me who you are? And you're muted at the moment. All right, we didn't hear anything there, so we'll move on. Are there any other public comments on Zoom?
Yes, I would like to provide a public comment.
Sure, Charles, you.
Yes, so Charles Yu from the Long Island City Partnership, and I just want to say that over the summer break, we have been approached by a group of businesses on Revere Avenue and on Borden Avenue about some concerns regarding the bike lane that DOT has proposed. And we are over the weekend. Oh, sorry, over the summer, we actually had a tour, a walking tour with DOT, and specifically, looking at some of the concerns, including turning circles and access to loading docks for some of the industrial businesses on those streets that I just mentioned. So I just wanted to mention this to the Transportation Committee.
Okay, yeah, thank you. If we get any specific comments from anybody sent to the office, we can review that. Any specific concerns that we could talk about with DOT. So either you can send them or have the people you spoke to send them.
Yeah.
All right.
Noted.
Thank
Yep.
Are there any other public comments?
If I may?
Sure, Andy?
Yes, sir. We having a small back and forth with the DOT regarding city bikes. I know that city bikes are very important. They're very useful. They're very green. I support city bikes, but we have a situation on 64th Street between 50th Avenue and 51st Avenue, where the bikes were put in front of residential homes, literally in front of their houses, where they want to unload their groceries, or if there's an emergency, if an ambulance has to come, ADA compliance. If you could just make a note somewhere, somebody to take a look at that. There's alternate places they could put them on the avenues where they won't be in front of the residential homes. And just basically, I've been working with Steve Raga's office back and forth with the DOT. And if you could just make a note of it, and maybe if you hear any comments down the road regarding it, please contact me, or even Patrick is one of our neighborhood residents that also has been listening to the gripes, I guess the word is, the complaints of these city bikes right in front of the person's front door. And I just thought I'd bring that up. Thank you.
If I can add to that, I ride City Bike 12 months a year. And the location there is questionable, and there's a potentially better alternative at 51st Ave between 64th and 65th Street, not in front of a single family residence.
51st Ave between 54th and
64th and 65th.
64th and 65th.
So just, instead of on one side of the street, it's on the other side.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have a look at it. I'll talk to our DOT partners, City Bike partners, and see if that's something that can be changed or needs to be changed, or whatever's possible.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Question.
Maury? Hi, Maury. Good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Good, very much, very well.
I wasn't sure if we had a meeting or not because I got a notice that said it was canceled, so I got confused. So I apologize for the delay. I
I
wanted,
don't know where you got a notice that was canceled. Nothing was sent out. That was canceled.
it was on September 6th, and it says this event was canceled from Deborah Merkel. Oh, well,
Maybe that was one link.
I don't know, but don't worry, I'm here.
Sorry about that.
No. So then I just wanted a clarification. So in that spot where the city bikes are now, what was there before the city bikes were there? Was it just parking cars?
Just parking.
So were the parked cars were not an issue for like taking in groceries and things like that, or what's the difference?
I think the idea is that, sometimes there are parked cars there, sometimes it's not. Whereas the docks are a bit more immovable.
Right.
And everywhere else in the area, it's been placed on the avenues, not in front of single family homes, but on sides of. So as far as Andy mentioned, in terms of, let's call them gripes, not complaints. The idea is, it's in front of my house. There's a sense of ownership, real or imagined. But on the side of the house, that argument is weaker.
Got it. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I know that, thank you, Maury. When the city bikes went in, they did a lot of research into the best places for them. And sometimes they go in where the daylighting is needed on the corners. But I'll have a look at the images, and I'll talk to the DOT about that specific location.
Options.
Yeah, no, it's good.
We do have an active case open for it, like the bike share is actively looking at that and several other locations in the area. just to monitor usage, and there is a lot of citing criteria that goes into these things. But there is an active case with the bike share unit for that spot.
Okay, nice. Good to know. There's an active case there. But I'll keep it on my docket as well. Thank you. Any other comments? Hi, Maya, how are you? Oh, we already said
I'm
hello.
fine, thank you.
Good. I heard from Roz, but not, yeah, hello.
Yeah, hi.
All right.
I have a couple of things about the sidewalks, the curbs on the sidewalk. I don't know if the appropriate time or what.
Sure, yeah. I don't know if that counts as new business or we could talk about it now. We don't have much. Before
Okay,
scheduling.
it's just, a couple of things on 2 locations. I sent one location to, I called 311 about one sidewalk, one curb, one ramp curb of the sidewalk and I sent the reference number to community board too. And the second one, it doesn't have a cut. The corner doesn't have a cut. When I have to cross with my wheelchair, I have to go all the way to the end of the street to make my way to the other side. It's on the corner of Woodside Avenue and 39 Road. There is no curb cut.
Woodside Avenue and 39th Road.
Road, yeah, below the park.
The curb cut?
No, there is no one, no.
I believe there's an active study with DOT of that street and crosswalk now, and because a community member had asked for us to look at it.
Yeah, but for wheelchair or whatever, it's like, it's not only the concern of cross line, it's also the sidewalk accessibility.
That's a very tough crosswalk. There's a lot of conflict there. So I'll have a look at it. I live near there and I'll talk to DOT.
Okay, thank you.
And then we have, Debbie says we have your case.
Yes,
Yeah.
the other.
And we
Yeah.
forwarded Commissioner Patty, I believe he loved it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. That is that. Did we want to talk about any of these traffic enforcement issues? I know that board members have talked about this in the past. Okay. So we can move that to old business. I'll talk to Joe. And DOT about any updates on any of our old business.
Well, I mean, the precinct never came to actually like answer
No,
any
they haven't.
questions, so.
Yeah,
think
so I think it would- It will
Correct,
definitely
it'll
stay.
stay
Yeah.
here,
Okay.
yeah.
And we may have to move that into a different category of need to send a letter to somebody. Or, you know. Hi, Joe.
Everyone, I hope that summer treated everyone well.
It's been very nice, I think.
Yeah.
The
I think
weather
so.
this month is beautiful.
Honestly, today was really good. But yeah, I mean, some time has passed, but most of the updates I have is that a lot of these requests are still pending, but I'll start off with Blissville, get right into it, and the border and review street improvement project that we're doing. As Henry mentioned, a lot of over the summer we did some outreach with the local businesses, so that's why we haven't exactly had any immediate updates about it, because we were kind of refining the design and getting some more feedback about everything. So we do plan to install this fall. And once we get closer to any kind of installation date, we'll be able to share that with the board.
Have there been any major changes to the design that we saw?
There will be essentially adjustments in lane widths and, buffer zones, just to accommodate some of the turn movements that was mentioned. But we'll be able to share exactly with the board once we get the drawings of the street finalized.
Okay. Was the major intersection that's getting changed, was that part of this fall's work?
The Greenpoint Avenue Bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is part of this year's scope.
Okay.
So for reference, this year's scope is from Laurel Hill Boulevard to Borden and Review Avenue. Like the intersection of Borden and Review.
Okay. Nice, that's great news. And Tom Matusas, who is missing from our meeting tonight because he's flying, said that is the most important thing for me to ask. So
Of course.
we're very happy to hear it.
I did have some other like important updates for him as well.
Okay.
Since I was hoping he was gonna be here. But I know a topic that comes up very often with him in Blissville is the ped ramps in the area. So I did get in contact with our ped ramp group to just kind of get an idea of where some of the intersections are at. There's a lot of locations in Blissville that are considered what we call complex builds because there's some infrastructure at the corners like poles or signals that would have to get adjusted to get the ramps upgraded. But I do have a list of intersections that are what we consider in design. So they're essentially engineers are designing what would have to get changed, and then normally those builds get brought to DDC, who would then carry out the work. The DOT would carry out any of the more standard corners. But the intersections I have are 30th Street and Borden Avenue, which is in design. 30th Place and Borden Avenue is in scoping, meaning they're doing inspections of the intersection before they do any kind of design changes. We also have 31st Place and Borden Avenue, which is in design, in the in design stage. And at Review Avenue and 29th Street, those are going, that intersection is going to be upgraded as part of a builder's pavement plan. So the building that's being constructed there, the property owner is going to be reconstructing those corners themselves.
Okay.
I'll be able to,
Can you send us the list?
yeah, I was planning on sending this right after the meeting because it's a lot to go through. But
So these are the ones that are considered complex builds, or those?
yeah, because they're in the design phase. So those are the ones that would be considered complex. And as those designs move forward, I'll be able to share a more solid timeline as those move on. But I did just want to find out myself like which corners would be considered in that category.
Okay, nice. Thank
So we have a better idea. All right.
Yeah, that's great news. Thank you.
Where specifically is 29th and Review? Is it like, it looks like there's a FedEx company, or is it just like part of that parcel? Yeah, because it kind of merges with 30th and then.
Oh, that's understandable.
No, I'm looking at the Review. but
Oh.
there's no schools.
Oh, it's one of the guys right there.
Oh, I
Yeah.
okay.
So they're building.
One time I was like, yo.
And they're gonna be a freaking
Right.
intersection.
Somebody
and
mute.
have their own level of
Somebody
traffic
mute.
controls to control trucks going in and out of the new curb cut there.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry, Maury, were you?
Oh, somebody was not on mute and there was a lot of interference. I couldn't hear.
So moving on, so some of the other cases that we have active, I know there's an intersection control study for 43rd Avenue, 49th Street, that is still under review with our signals unit. And also 39th Road and Woodside Avenue, that is still under review at the moment. So once I get more information back on that, I'll be able to share what the determination was for that study.
You said 43rd Avenue and 49th Street
Yes.
in Sunnyside?
Yep, not too far.
Yeah.
Right. And so some of the other updates I wanted to share, there was, over the summer, we did have some signal approval, so I just wanted to share that with board here. We had a signal approval for Queens Plaza South and 11th Street. We repaired a signal problem that was at 11th Street and 49th Ave, the ramp off of the Pulaski Bridge. There was an issue with some of the signals there, so we had to adjust those. And lastly, we had an always stop approval for 39th Avenue and 64th Street. And I'll be sending these to UW as well, because there was a lot more approvals over the summer. I just wanted to highlight some of the signal
Great.
approvals.
I appreciate it.
Of course. And this last thing I wanted to go over was that I know I sent the what's happening here for Debbie. I just wanted to let everyone know that the Queens Boulevard presentation that we gave back early in late spring. We are going to begin implementation sometime in the middle of this month. I would say 2 weeks out is a good reference. We're gonna be starting more on the eastern side of the project limits, and we're gonna be moving west as we install those, the new bike lane there and the improved pedestrian crossings. And some of the signal work that's gonna be happening with that. I just realized it's on the table there too, so
Oh, I
just
didn't
just a reminder to
yeah.
everyone that we're gonna be beginning implementation very soon on that project.
And that remains the same as the design, we saw?
Yes, granted, we did have to do, same with the Borden project, we did have to do some additional outreach over the summer, with a lot of the businesses along the corridor, to figure out where's the best places to put, some of the loading zones that are gonna be part of the project. And that's gonna be key to making the project work, to help, make sure there's no double parking going on. So we, did a lot of door to door, walking around, that was very insightful, to find out what's the exact needs of all the businesses there.
That's great.
If I recall that presentation, I don't think there was a lot of clarity about exactly what the eastern end is gonna look like that exact spot where it meets Queens Boulevard and Roosevelt and,
Yeah, so I'll have to find out exactly from the project team, what the transition is gonna look like right
Yeah.
there. Because they are getting the drawings finalized, essentially this week. To figure out exactly what the lane markings are gonna look like, but I'll be able to get back to you about that.
yeah, I'd really like to see that. Also, I don't know if it'll get touched, but where 48th crosses, there's like that kind of, there's like a curb cut. And there's sort of an unclear like light cycle or signal situation about when cyclists that are crossing there have the priority.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's getting like addressed as part of this, like how the movements are gonna turn on to the new bike lanes, that kind of thing.
I would expect it to, because because they're gonna be adding those lanes on the far side of it anyway.
Right.
So I would expect them to add some new bike crossings to make those connections, but I'll have to confirm with that.
Okay, yeah, very looking forward to seeing the designs. Very excited.
Definitely.
The new project.
Yeah, I've been looking forward all summer. I know things typically happen later in the summer and the fall. So it's exciting that it's gonna get started. Nice. The South Outer Roadway on Queensboro Bridge. I see work happening there. Fence goes up on the roadway. There's work at the base of the bridge happening right now.
Yes, so in terms of the opening of that, we're actually checking with the contractor currently, our bridges unit in the downtown office, they're actually checking in with the contractor now, just to get more of an idea of timeframe of the work that's gonna be completed. So in advance of them finishing up the work on the bridge, replacing the panels, we are gonna be able to do some of that work at the base of the bridge and with the SIP that we presented a few months back. So we'll be able to get some of that work done before, but we'll be able to get back to the board once we find out more about more exact dates and timeframes.
So we're still waiting on the construction on the upper deck to be finished,
Yeah,
and that's a little delayed from our timeline.
yeah, so the opening is dependent on the construction finishing, but at the base of the bridge, we're able to have a little bit more of an independent timeline. Because, it's gonna involve like a signal installation and new crossings and some concrete work. So a little bit of that can get done in advance, as the project team was saying.
Is that what's happening? There's construction in that area. There's trucks and Jersey barriers.
I think that might be related more to the MTA's elevator work.
Okay.
But I would have to, actually field check and just make sure.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of work happening there, from both agencies,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
This,
That's all the updates I have right now. There's any additional questions?
Yeah, did anybody have, I'll send it out, any questions from any of these longstanding items here?
What are the other updates for this scope?
Oh, about the project, the review avenue project updates and the Fed ramp upgrades. Yeah.
Maury
we-
has, oh, sorry.
We do hope, I'm looking forward to the project actually getting put in and addressing a lot of the concerns that are on this list for Blissville, because I think it'll be a nice way to knock them all out.
Yeah, part of the reason we're so excited is because it's such a big project that does take care of a lot of things.
Yeah.
All at once.
Yeah, and especially when we were at that walkthrough, when we were at the base of the bridge, it's really evident to see how much is going on there and how much is needed there, so.
Nice, excellent. Maury, you had your hand up?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask, one thing, do we have an update on the walk, don't walk pedestrian signal at Queens Plaza South and Jackson Avenue, Queens Plaza South?
Yes, we were just talking with our signals unit in the past few weeks about it. They are still attempting to get that installed for the fall.
Okay.
We're gonna be checking in again this week and next week to find out exactly when. But we do still plan on getting that installed.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Roz, Dr. Roz?
I'm not muted, right?
No, we
You
hear
hear me? Oh, good. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank DOT for all the work they put in on the diverter that's right near where I live. It is brilliant. You do not see people violating it. Occasionally they do, but in my mind, I see it as a rather substantial speed bump for illegal turners. And the only kind of concern I have is that if you could put a little something in to discourage vehicles from going down on the bike lanes. We're not really seeing that, but I worry that that could start happening. Any thoughts?
Because we'll definitely be monitoring for that. We're still gonna be watching this intersection closely. And I was able to take a look at it on the way here. It's good to see that it's been completed and such. And what's also good is that it still can accommodate any emergency vehicle movements that are happening at the intersection, as a reminder to everyone. But we will be watching it closely to see how it works, and looking for compliance.
But I think the so-called mountable curbs are fairly mountable. I've seen some places claims made that cars will be damaged if they go over it, and that's not true. They do go over it, but very, very slowly. I think we can use it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I have seen, I've heard of people going through the bike lane. Drivers driving their vehicles through the bike lane. I've seen it one time recently. I've also seen drivers drive around the wide end of it where there's a gap between the diverter and the parked cars.
Okay.
So there's some non-compliance there. I do appreciate that it replaced the old broken flex posts, the quick curb. And it does stop a lot of illegal activity.
Yeah,
It
that's
keeps the intersection a lot safer.
it's definitely something we're gonna have to be looking at more to see how that's happening, how the adjustment period that happens with this.
Yeah. Patrick?
I know there was a new request. Will that be included like in next month's meeting from Wynwood Gardens for a stop sign?
We could talk about it. It wasn't on the list, but
No, I mean, that's why I know it's kind of
Yeah.
recent, so maybe it's included a little later. But I just wanted to make sure that was included in the future.
oh yeah, I definitely have
Are
Wynwood
you
Gardens
talking
on my
about the
list.
50th Avenue, 65th Place and 60th Street,
Also 51st
or
now.
50th and 65th and 60th?
Stop signs. Yes. Yeah. This is, we're referring to 50th Ave. Okay, and then there was no update on the top bullet from Woodside, correct? On the one-way conversion?
Yeah, so that was, so for that request, that was essentially waiting on the Queensboro, bus network redesign. And I remember also talking to our traffic planning team that there was another one-way conversion that happened in one of the adjacent streets that kind of, that essentially removed the need for this, but I know we are waiting on the bus network redesign for this as well. Yeah.
That's, okay, thank you.
On the topic of the 59th Ave, Greenway or Pike Boulevard, just seconding Dr. Rice's comments, I actually take that every day, and I very much appreciate the new concrete. One additional thought, the eastbound of Contraflow bike lane that terminates at Woodside Ave. I wonder if consideration could be made to continue that Contraflow bike lane to the park. All the other approaches from Sunnyside are of a really steep slope.
Yeah.
And there's also a city bike stand there, so it definitely attracts a lot of cyclists that are coming off of the bike boulevard.
Okay.
And
So
I know-
the connection from 39th to Woodside?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, right now, cyclists are coming in on the right side of the road on the Country Club bike lane.
Yeah,
It'd be a natural movement to just continue staying on the right side and just crawl up to, where they could dock a city bike or reach the park or something.
So that's up Woodside Avenue to
Right.
White Park,
Right,
Country Club.
yeah, there's already,
sorry, which one?
So it would
Doughboy.
turn right at
Oh,
Woodside
Doughboy.
Avenue,
Yeah.
go against Country Club against traffic, to
Yeah.
the entrance of Doughboy Park.
there's already some speed bumps there, so there's some traffic calming in place. It would just facilitate kind of like a natural desire path, I think.
Yeah, that'll work.
Like that there?
A bike lane there, yeah.
Okay.
Like to go upwards. Okay, I see.
I will vouch for the fact that getting around Windmuller Park on a bicycle is very, very challenging for even very, very athletic people.
I see what you mean, all the hills inside the park.
Yes,
Okay.
so that would be a way to solve that problem.
It's like the only park that Sunnyside and Woodside have, so it's got a really strong demand.
Yeah, that's definitely something, I'll have to talk with the bikes team about when we have to, plan any kind of future connections with any of the existing lanes.
And then, so Patrick had mentioned this new thing in Wynwood Gardens, an email we received of a 311 complaint or a request for an always stop. We'll get that in the agenda to make sure you guys know and get an update next month.
Very well.
And it's speed bump. Yeah. Okay, so that concludes the DOT portion.
Are we able to make comments?
We did pass our public comment period, but because it's a light meeting, I'll certainly allow 1 minute public comment.
Thank you.
Just
Why
state
was Paul Gabriel?
Would
Hi,
you
Paul.
mind turning on your camera?
I'm having some technical difficulties. I think it's user error, so I apologize. But what was the purpose of the meeting if it was already a fait accompli on the 50th Street 39th intersection?
Well, the purpose was to explain to people, hear people out on what the concerns was with it, and to inform the design of the diverter, because there was some changes that we did make to the design based on the meeting that we did have.
But there was zero follow-up. And I think what has incensed a lot of people in the community is the lack of transparency from the board and the DOT. We're lied to on numerous issues and not really given a chance to speak. That meeting was supposed to be able to get the input of the community as to why we felt that it wasn't necessary. And I think the community board should take note that lying to the community on a consistent basis isn't helpful.
Thank you very much for your comment. We take note, we do try to be transparent, and everything there had been announced at Transportation Committee meetings, and the board.
Why was
meetings.
there no follow-up after
And
the
then
meeting?
that meeting, can I just interject a moment? That meeting was requested by the board on behalf of the community for quite a few months throughout the year, and DOT worked with the community board and the residents of the community to make that meeting happen.
Right. On a Wednesday, I think at 10 o'clock, which started a half an hour late and promptly ended 11 when DOT officials then got in their personal vehicles and drove away.
Thank you, Paul, that's noted.
Yeah, thank you very much. We do note it.
Well, noted that it is really not inclusive at all. You're taking your arrogance to a new level and it insults the community.
All right, we appreciate the comment, Paul, and your time is up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So moving on. With a new season, and a relatively new chair of this transportation committee, I want to iterate my focus and what I think our focus should be, and certainly it's all up for comment amongst this committee. We should focus on equity within the district because a lot of the focus has been on certain parts of our district while other parts have been neglected. We spent a lot of time talking about Sunnyside north of Queens Boulevard. We spent a lot of time talking about Long Island City. And there are places within our district that have almost no changes to the street plan, in spite of there being a streets plan that calls for changes. Specifically talking about Woodside, Sunnyside, south of Queens Boulevard, Blissville, which we talk about a lot, and I'm very, very thankful to see some changes there. Wynwood Gardens is a place that we hear about a lot, and we would like to make sure we focus on there, hear from the community about what they need. If anybody has any other parts of the neighborhoods that they are seeing that we are maybe outside of our scope, we would always be happy to hear about it.
Let's include Maspeth in that list.
Maspeth, yeah.
Not just, you know, quiet with it.
Yeah, there tends to be a lot of focus in certain areas, and I think especially on the eastern part of our district, which can feel like between two districts. I hope they're feeling some love from us. On that note, also, I have on the agenda that we should talk about safety redesigns on 47th Avenue and 48th Avenue in Sunnyside, South Queens Boulevard. I've noted 47th Avenue between Skillman Avenue and 51st Street, and 48th Avenue between 30th Street and 49th Street. Of course, 47th Avenue and 46th Street was the site of a very, very tragic crash that killed one child and put her sister into the hospital. There was a press conference yesterday where Council Member Julie Wan and State Senator Michael Gianaris asked for the mayor, the DOT, the city to redesign our streets specifically in that area so that children can cross the street safely to that school, to other schools. We've seen the success of Skillman Avenue, 43rd Avenue, and 39th Avenue, the protected bike lanes, the shorter crossings, the daylighting that happened there, and how we've had far fewer crashes. And I don't think many critical injuries. I think South Sunnyside needs the same service. So that is on the agenda. I would happily talk to anybody or hear from anybody about it.
Strong support.
Strong support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that area, basically you have to pass through if you're planning to like Brooklyn. So it's also seconding the comments about Maspeth, which is Bushwick. So there's a lot of people passing through that area because of the Schuylkill Bridge. There's a lot of young families there because it's a more affordable area than north of the boulevard. And I think, you know, folks in that area certainly see what can be done and are maybe questioning why it hasn't been done there. So
Yeah.
strong support for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I know there was also a crash that killed a bicyclist in nearly the same block in 2021. So it's a dangerous avenue. We have the tools. Reading the 2024 streets plan, the city wants to build safer streets. I know it's also often a matter of resources and budget, which streets receive that safety. But I think a long avenue going from eastern part of Queens towards Manhattan deserves as much focus as anywhere else. Especially opponents of street changes often say, well, people cannot just use this street instead. A cyclist can use this street instead. It's very, very challenging for cyclists to go 4 or 5 blocks out of their way just to reach a safer place to go. Queens Boulevard would be the closest once that's complete. But I think every avenue deserves that treatment, especially because it includes safer crossings, daylighting, and shortened crossings.
So can I just mention, I think we have to think beyond just avenues. Because right now there really isn't any safe north-south way to travel along Sunnyside, connect, to Astoria. There's some painted bike lanes on 43rd and 42nd and on 48th and 47th streets, but people park in them, people, waiting there to pick up passengers, people make deliveries, they might as well not even be there a lot of the time. Also, there's a very prevalent gap in bike infrastructure around Woodside Station, which is another community that I think equity is a concern for. There are city bike stands, but there's not really a great way to get to them from the station, except for the one that's right at 61st Street. So if that's full, you're kind of on your own. And then there's no real bike lanes heading anywhere out from the station, which is also an LIWI stop.
Yeah, I've mentioned before that a train station that big with LIRR and subway trains should have some amount of pedestrian and bike infrastructure. It's very cramped, crowded, and dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to comment on,
Okay.
yeah, and regarding that recent tragedy that happened, we did do some walkthroughs of the area, and we are in contact with both our school safety and our research implementation and safety groups to kind of find out what we already had planned for the area and then find out what we could also do for that, that radius of what happened there. We did, a little walkthrough from where the school is over to 39th Street along the avenue. And there are some things we'd like to pursue there.
Great. I'm very,
So-
very glad to hear it. Yeah.
We will definitely keep you updated on that.
Yeah. thank
It
you.
was very hard to learn about that.
Yeah, it's every death is a tragedy. I know there was another death after that later in the summer on 43rd Avenue, around 34th Street, which was a very, very well treated, safe avenue, but because there's not hardened infrastructure there, a truck went right through the painted infrastructure and killed a cyclist. So I appreciate when the work happens and when the design goes in, but we also have to make sure we focus on hardening. Looking at you, but I'm talking to the community. Has the DOT looked at that intersection? Do you know the one?
Yeah, we are also, the same group, research implementation safety group, they are also looking at that area to, get a better idea of what could have caused a crash like this and what could actually be done, like to improve on an already protected intersection. So it's something we are actively looking at.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Was there any comments on Zoom from any board members? I see that our chair, Anatole Ashraf, is here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for attending and joining us.
Thank you for leading. Thanks for the discussion.
So then, if anybody on the board has anything to say about the one LIC draft scope of work, there is a full board meeting coming up on Thursday in which it'll be discussed. I went over it. I added comments to our public reply, just kind of specifying that we need more specifics about, I think, how it is part of a larger network of streets. There need to be more protected crossings, more protected bike lanes. As we redesign a neighborhood map, we should design it for safety and for the pedestrian. Mainly, I think the pedestrian is the most person, especially in a highly densely populated area. Patricia, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, hi. I came in a little late. For some reason, I thought it was a 6:30 start. Anyway,
Sorry,
so
welcome,
I don't know if I missed the part of how to deal with the mopeds, bicycles. I find it that we need to really try and work together with DOT and maybe NYPD on what are we going to do enforcing regulations with bicycles and mopeds getting out of hand, and I'm afraid causing an awful lot of accidents that shouldn't be. There seems to be only rules of the road for the cars, and we need to have some kind of real committee work on this because I think it's gonna get worse. I'm also concerned about that, food delivery, whatever it is on Skillman and 41st Street, 42nd Street with the cars parked and double parked and bikes left waiting for people to take the dinners to people. It's down the block from a school. It's 2 blocks away from a park. There's a lot of problems with that place over there, with cars having to squeeze into 1 lane past and kids and pedestrians, regular adult pedestrians walking by. So I'm just throwing it out. I think there's a need for concentration on regulations for things other than cars.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think any moped riders should drive illegally. That is largely an enforcement thing that we're dealing with. The streets get designed for all. And I think my own personal opinion is as the city builds more protected bike lanes, cyclists will have their own designated place to be that will keep them off sidewalks. Of course, there are always bad actors who will go through red lights and stop signs.
That's mostly the problem, is when
Yeah.
cars have to turn the corner and we don't know when anybody's coming. And, they go through the red lights, they just don't care. And there's gonna be something really bad happening.
Yeah. Patrick? Yes.
Yeah, I would say, I know I don't think, Councilmember 1, but, Councilmember, Krishnan in Jackson Heights, who I think is part of CB2 a little bit. He had a town hall earlier this summer about mopeds in particular. I think if you, Patricia, I don't know where in the district you are, but if you reach out to Councilmember Shaker Krishnan's office, I'm sure they can provide you some material that they shared with the public at that event, because of course it's a big issue throughout the Greenpoint Ave, Roosevelt Ave corridor.
Right, but I'm not in that corridor. I'm on Skillman in Sunnyside Gardens. And the moped problem is a lot by that place that delivers food down there on Skillman. But it's bicycles coming down and going through red lights and not thinking that I think their mindset is they have the right of way over a multi-ton car. And there should be some kind of sharing going on, some kind of communication, some kind of, I don't know, licensing, making sure that they take courses. I have no idea, but I think it's something to discuss because it's getting to be very dangerous.
Yeah, I think the council member's office could have some ideas to share on that.
Yes, but we're the transportation committee. We should have the ideas to send to the councilwoman to work with her about it. This is our committee. We need it to come from us.
Yeah, I hear you. I think specific locations always helps. I know that food delivery place, I know that there are a lot of riders, moped riders and cyclists who congregate there. I ride my bike through there on the way to work. It's never really much of a problem. I don't know if there's double parkers of cars in the street that are obstructing the flow of traffic.
I
Again,
think you
I'm
need
not
to
gonna,
ride there when it's mealtime.
yeah.
I don't know what time you go to work, but when it's mealtime, it's very crowded.
So they're spilling out into the roadway and
Yeah,
just,
oh yeah, and I mean, there are cars coming to pick up, take out, and there are mopeds, a lot of them. And they leave
Cars.
only 1 lane to go by.
cars are double parking as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's, it's lots of bad actors all around. So while moped riders, I feel there are bad actors, they are also part of the community and they have a right to be there. You can't just put a blanket ban on things, but.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm more concerned with the safety. I'm not concerned with banning. I'm concerned with the safety of it.
Although I will say that there are some forms of mopeds which are banned and are not legal. I do have to recognize Chair Anatole.
Yeah, thanks, Riley. I was just gonna bring up the main the main culprit, which is the business of food delivery and consumer habits, right? These apps reward, yes, the mindset isn't really like I have the right of way. The mindset is I got to get this delivery in faster, 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 and then I get my tip, and then I get I'll bring it back to I have to mention as the first Bangladeshi community board chair in New York City. A lot of these are Bangladeshi and many other ethnicities, and then that's the mindset. Some of these people are killing themselves literally because they're rewarded for faster delivery, going faster, go, 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 go. Otherwise, they're going to get a bad review, bad customer. Food delivery people were treated awfully before the delivery apps came, right? So if we can change consumer habits, the world would be a better place. Until then, and yes, if we can get Grubhub, if we can get DoorDash, if we can get Uber Eats, if we can get these people at the table, then we might be able to do something. These people already spend billions of dollars to lobby the government for no slaps on the wrist. So that's the challenge, and I welcome. Patricia keeps saying let's work together. Let's find a way to slap these major companies on the wrist. And otherwise, during peak time, during peak time, it does get busy, but that's why, right? And then those like private equity, like foreign billionaire investment, that is a big actor. So if we can find ways to chip away at this, that I welcome that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I agree. Corey.
Yeah, so just on the topic of safety, I think it's important, right, that we don't underestimate the conflicts between mopeds and pedestrians, right? And there have been crashes, there's been serious crashes, but the fact of the matter is still the amount of serious injuries and fatal crashes from motor vehicles hitting vulnerable road users of all kinds, pedestrians, cyclists, and moped riders, just dwarfs it. And that's why we focus so much more on regulating motor vehicles. They're more massive and they move faster, and there's more of them. So I think it's important that we have a conversation around dangerous moped usage, especially in places like we said, specific locations where they are actually hitting people. But I don't think it should, because it's the new kid on the block, that it should distract us from this epidemic that we know has been killing hundreds of New Yorkers every year. So I just want to make sure that's said.
Yep. Thank you very much. I've often said the same thing. If I'm a pedestrian on the sidewalk and a moped crosses my path and almost hurts me, that's certainly something that I want to see changed, and I don't want that to happen. But it is the cars that are killing, and that's why the cars and trucks are the ones that are being legislated the most and enforced the most. As far as the specific location, if the mopeds and bicyclists need more space, we might have to put in a specific space for them or ask the city to do so. There might have to be loading zones there. I know there are parking spots there. There are ways that we as a board can fix specific spots. But I think we on the Transportation Committee are dealing with kind of a Wild West in many ways. Drivers, since the pandemic, have changed their driving behavior where they'll go through red lights or they'll drive illegally and put people in harm. They'll cross over a bike lane without yielding and nearly kill a cyclist. Moped riders, e-bike riders, cyclists, they are also guilty of doing things that can harm people. Pedestrians are a very vulnerable party. I think we should make it our focus to protect them. I think that's what we do. I think when we try to make safer crossings and wider sidewalks and protected bike lanes, that's what we're trying to do. As far as the moped thing, I think specific locations helps.
And just as a quick follow-up, I mean, I think let's not avoid the elephant in the room, is that since the pandemic, the police have just been enforcing moving violations far less than they used to. And that's created this culture of the Wild West where, there's this culture of impunity that everyone on the road feels like, they're on their own.
Yeah. Andy, you have your hand up. This time is for board members, but since we're nearing the end here, I'll hear you out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to know, I mean, when I was a child and my children didn't have it in school, maybe we should have some more outreach programs because, you know, we've infected ourselves and our children with saying that pedestrians have the right of way. But, you know, yes, legally they have the right of way and it's the automobile's liability. But the word responsibility should fall more on, you know, being aware of your surroundings. Get your face out of the phone while you're walking. You know, maybe if there was an outreach, I remember when I was in school, we had a police officer and someone come and they'd give us a 20-minute, 30-minute talk on street safety. Cross at the green, not in between, right? Who's ever old enough to hear that? You don't hear that anymore. I think it's also important to educate our children, educate people. And in construction, we have 10-hour OSHA classes. You can't even step on a construction site without a 10-hour OSHA class. Maybe for city bikes and for mopeds and for whatnot, maybe they should have that outreach program. Maybe not OSHA, but a DOT outreach where they could take a class and just get pointers on, you know, the things to look for and being aware of their surroundings. Maybe only using one ear pod instead of both ear pods because you could hear if there's a car coming, unless it's a Tesla. But you know what I mean? So I just wanted to put that out there. I think we should also focus when there's multiple parties involved. We should focus on outreaching to the bicyclists, the pedestrians, especially the children. The children really need to get their phones out, their faces out of their phones and be aware of their surroundings. I thought, you know, I just thought I'd put that out there. Thank you for the time.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Yes, we also have to know that we also have to say that the responsible party will always be the one with the more dangerous vehicle. It is wise to look around and see the dangers around you, but as I mentioned, with the death of that child earlier in the summer, she was in a crosswalk with her sister. She had the right of way. It was a narrower kind of street and she was still hit by a truck. There's really not much she could have done. I don't think she was looking at her phone. So this is why we have to talk about what the city can look like, what the future of the city can be like, what we need in specific places and neighborhoods and on specific streets to make the streets safer, specifically to slow down the vehicles that are killing people. And to make sure there's safer and more room for the people who are more vulnerable. I think that's what our mission has to be. Every time there's a death in our community, I feel it. I think we all feel it. And I think we have to honor it. But I do appreciate it. I teach my own kids. If we were in the woods, I would tell you to watch out for wolves. We're in the city, look out for cars, you know, but I still won't let them cross the street by themselves. Corey.
Yeah, so, I mean, the truth is, right, that what you're talking about has been the approach to safety for my entire life. It's always been a focus on the victim protecting themselves. But like was just said, you know, we're asking kids to protect themselves from speeding vehicles and drunk drivers and distracted drivers. It's just not fair, right? And I actually think that the OSHA example is a really good metaphor because in OSHA, education of the operator is the last step of safety. Way before that, you design out the opportunity for conflicts. I used to work in manufacturing, and all of the safety is about first looking at the system, looking at all the inputs, and as much as you can designing safety into the system, then PPE, then finally behavior as the last resort. We've been doing it completely backwards in America with traffic safety, right? We go to the kids and tell them, look around, don't get hit by a car, and then we resist designing the street so that, you know, the car doesn't drive fast in the first place. So I don't want to underplay the need for kids to have, you know, education about like how to be safe in the city. But I think we've been doing that. I think we need to emphasize the other elements of safety that are more effective.
I'm saying in addition to, sorry to interrupt, but in addition to making the streets safer, you know, and I'm not saying don't make the streets safer, just
right. Oh,
in addition to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're vulnerable. You should be aware of it. Maury.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on that. You know, it's interesting. I come from a background of design and media and usability. I focus on that in my teaching and my education has been in usability. And the whole idea in usability is how do you create a system that prevents errors? So it's exactly what we just heard a moment ago. So I think, because people are human and we're going to make mistakes. Even the person who's, trying as hard as possible to be careful walking across the street, the runner who's trying, I run, who's trying to run is going to try to hopefully be careful. The drivers hopefully are trying to be careful. But sometimes people are going to make mistakes, and some people are also idiots. So how can we create a system that adjusts for as much of all of that as possible? I'll tell you, I had a driver instructor, my driving instructor, many, many, many years ago. I won't tell you how many. I remember Mr. Simbalista. He only had one eye, and he was so alert and so good. And I remember he said, always be defensive as a driver. But you could take that further and say, always be defensive as any person in any mode of transportation. Because if we're defensive, as Mr. Simbalista used to say, you have less of a chance of being in an accident. So you might have the right of way, but if, a pedestrian doesn't notice you, or a truck, doesn't see you, or whatever the vehicle or the mode of transportation is, if you're defensive, would you rather be right or avoid an accident? So if we're all defensive, we'll have a lot fewer problems. That's just my 2 cents. Thanks for indulging me.
No, thank you very much. Whenever I'm riding a bike, I think of Sancho Panza said, sorry to quote Sancho Panza, whether the pot hits the rock or the rock hits the pot, it's bad for the pot. So think on that. Patricia.
Thank you.
Just one more quick thing. It just came into my head. We have bumps in the road to slow down the cars. Can we have bumps at the corners to slow down the bicycles?
I do. Yeah, there you go.
In the bike lane? I've never seen one.
Have you been on a bike?
No, but I've been on.
Yeah, then they go onto the sidewalk.
DOT actually has done
In the bike.
bicycle traffic calming on its new designs.
I can't hear you. What?
There are examples of bike traffic calming like that. Like a lot of protected bike lanes have thick striping of paint that forces your bike to sort of rumble when you go over it.
Both run the strips.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have to understand that when you're on a bike, you're a lot more sensitive to slight changes in the pavement. So it's not as visible from a car, but believe me, we encounter many bumps when we're riding around.
I'm going to check out.
Very annoying.
I'm going to check out Skillman Avenue because it seems to me that nobody slows down as they're going through the through the red light.
Yeah, so the main problem is they're going through a red light, which, is a problem. Hopefully, culture will change and
Or
cyclists will.
slow down as there's a car there. Just slow down because it's you and the car, slow down.
I mean, so a car should yield to a cyclist in a bike lane. That's the law.
Of course, but
If that means that the driver has to come to a complete stop to check for any cyclists, that's what they have to do. A lot of times the crashes that we see happen because drivers are taking the turns too quickly and they hit somebody. And I will agree with you that there are cyclists who do illegal stuff and put people in danger. They'll go through a red light when pedestrians are trying to cross. I hope that changes, and we'll do what we can to make that change. But I think the main thing is bikes and cars are not the same thing. So you can't design the roadways the same way. A bike barely reaches 15 miles per hour.
I'm only looking out for the safety of the bicyclist who doesn't have the wherewithal to realize this car may not stop. So slow down. But what happens is, and I've had this happen to me, they'll look at me right through the window and dare me.
Yeah.
So they're not in the right frame of mind. So I want something on the road that puts them in the right frame of mind.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a wild west and there are cases of everything. And I'm not being defensive on anything. What I'm trying to do as chair is design the corners so that there's no conflict. So that when you see on like Skillman, when drivers have to make a 90-degree turn to turn right, the cyclist sees the driver and the driver sees the cyclist, and then they can decide what's going to happen there. Cyclist has the right of way. We just have to redesign the entire city that way. That's our goal. John Suarez, you have your hand up. Again, this time is for board members, but I'll hear you out because we are nearing the end.
Hi, sorry, excuse my appearance as well. I just got home from biking. I do appreciate you giving me the time to speak. I just wanted to, I guess, give my input as someone who does use the Skillman and 43rd Avenue bike lanes every day, as well as the Queens Boulevard bike lane every day. So my trips, I obviously, as you can see from my name, I live here in Hunters Point. So I take the nice graded bike path down Hunters Point every day. I take that to Vernon Boulevard, where I have to share the lane with traffic until I get to the protected lane. And then I take that to Queens Boulevard, where I bike the entirety of the Queens Boulevard bike path to Hillside Avenue. And this is every day. This is a 20-mile trip that I make total each day. I'm biking 100 miles each week. I have not been in an accident with a vehicle in about the last 6 years of riding my bike. And I had been in 4 accidents in the first 4 years of riding my bike. The difference between those 4 years and these last 6 years is having that protected infrastructure. When I was starting off biking, it was in Maspeth. There was no protected infrastructure. It was very dangerous. I moved here to Long Island City. I have all this protected infrastructure, and I'm still seeing conflicts with vehicles, especially drivers who are on their phones or not aware of their surroundings, especially on Queens Boulevard with drivers that aren't yielding when they're supposed to yield before crossing the bike path on Queens Boulevard. It's dangerous. I'm trying to get home to my wife and my 2 children, my 2 teens who will soon be biking as well. And I just want to get home safely each day. So I think that, when I passed by, and I was the person that first reported to Streets Blog about the dead biker on 34th and 43rd, because that's the route that I use. And I passed by their body covered in the white sheet on my way to work. I was a little bit late that day, and it makes me wonder if I had only been on time, if I had been 15 minutes earlier, could that have been me? Could that have been me not coming home to my wife and children that day? And seeing that sight, seeing that on that street, knowing that that's a street where I have a conflict with trucks very regularly, because I'm supposed to have the right of way. And I find myself constantly having to yield to vehicles that are making that turn at a much a wider angle than they should be. It affects me. So I know we're all affected by maybe being frightened of mopeds and fast bicycles. Like you said, 15 miles per hour is about my top speed. When I don't have an electric bicycle, I have the same bicycle non-electric bicycle that I bought 10 years ago. That's what I use to get to work. And 15 miles per hour, that actually sounds pretty fast to me. I'm usually at about 10 to 12 miles per hour. So, I understand it can be frightening to people to see cyclists moving fast. I'm never afraid of a cyclist when I'm on my way to work. I'm afraid of the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pound moving steel cage that are next to me. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you again for me this time.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for being here. Thanks for your comment. I'm very, very sorry that you came across that site over the summer. We all read about it and were horrified that it's in our district, and especially because it was on a bike lane that was a bike lane designed for safety. But we see the gaps in the system, and we're hoping to continue to fix them. And I know our partners in DOT continue to try to fix them. All right, Maury?
Yeah, this is a little unrelated. I hope it's okay to make a comment.
Sure.
I just want to say I went for a run earlier today and I was on 39th Street on the south side of Sunnyside. And it was an obstacle course, or it was more than an obstacle course. I had to wind up going into the street because the entire sidewalk was filled with cars. Cars were parked on the sidewalk. I could not, and this is between 47th Avenue and Queens Boulevard on 39th Street. Just all the businesses there had parked their cars on the sidewalk on the west side. I could not get through, and I had to literally jog in the street in order to avoid them. One of the cars was actually backing up, I guess, to leave, and they didn't even notice me. So luckily I was able to get away. And it was a giant SUV, of course. So I've noticed a lot of this, and I've seen ever since the pandemic, a lot more people on the south side and going, actually, I was wrong. It was on the east side of the street, but south side of Sunnyside, all the way going towards Long Island City, a lot of, industrial and businesses. And I think that ever since the pandemic, a lot of people walk and ride bikes in that area because they became aware of that area when there was nowhere to go. So a lot more people are around, but there are tons of businesses, well, not tons, but many, many, many businesses having cars parked on all these sidewalks. Can we do something about that? Can we enforce it?
Yeah, Debbie?
Yes, there seems to be a lot going on throughout the whole entire district of cars parking on the sidewalk, and we've brought that up for enforcement and will continue to do so.
Yeah, it seems to have moved on from a specific law-breaking issue to a much bigger citywide political issue. So I would encourage everybody to call their council member, to write to the community board about specific places, to call the mayor if he's available. But specifically, you can make a 311 complaint about it, see if the police will ticket the vehicle. And then we on the board on this committee can try to figure out ways. It seems to be that auto businesses especially get a pass. In my part of Woodside, that's the case. And it gets very, 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 very bad.
I know they've been ticketing and they do give us reports of enforcement, but it's not enough. A lot of businesses are doing it as part of their business.
Right, part of business, yeah.
Thank you.
I did hear that maybe we may be able to use the avenue of Department of Consumer Affairs or Consumer Finance, because they are using the sidewalk as part of running their business. I saw somebody mention that maybe there's a bill for that to happen, but there's a possibility there as well. But again, it's illegal to park on the sidewalk, and they should be ticketed, and the businesses should learn that they cannot park on the sidewalk because they got ticketed for it. It's a very, very simple system, and it's failing. So I'll do my best, and we'll do our best.
Briefly before we finish on the topic of the LAC, you said you're updating the document. So I mentioned in that meeting previously that currently the draft scope of work for seeker doesn't mention any analysis of bicycle demand or bicycle traffic behavior. Just want to make sure that that actually gets in our comments, especially considering our discussion today and
Sure.
Our distinguished guest from Long Island City.
Yeah, absolutely. I did make comments that it's needed. I don't know, if they're studying how many bike trips are made per block, what they expect. All right, I think that, Osman, do you have any issues in your neighborhood?
Yeah, we have to know some about the bike meter, because I'm driving the taxi, I know the difference what's going on there. Sometimes the driving two person parallel, the driving and talking.
Yeah.
And on the time also talking, sometimes they're on the cell phone, sometimes texting, they don't care about who's going, who's right, doesn't care. And also the bike sometimes they need the bell. So by the time going, shut up. People starting. When crossing, there is something noise, so people know something going to happen, people can alert. They need another thing. And outside of the thing, the keeping the education for the last week, the Friday, maybe 10 minutes, 15, to give them all the education. This last day, Friday, last hour, they give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes the education to kids, how to do the situation, they're handling. It's gonna better help both sides.
Yeah, so you agree, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you, yeah. The bells are,
Very helpful.
it's the law that every bike should have a bell, and they should be ringing their bell, especially if they're gonna do something dangerous and illegal.
Have we ever organized any sort of like bike bell giveaways or anything in tries like that?
Not that I know of, I don't recall.
+1.
Yeah, it could be a fun little event.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know where we get the bike thing. That's on you guys. We only do public giveaways.
Anatole?
Very hard to understand what is being said. I don't know. I didn't catch any of that last conversation.
Yeah, some agreement that, giving kids, bike education, that when bicyclists are going, they should have a bell and they should alert people in their path, whether it's the bike path or anywhere else, that they're coming, because 15 miles per hour is still pretty fast if somebody's heading your direction. And then, bicyclists riding side by side and using their phones, just basically paying attention. Anatole, did you have a comment?
Oh, no, I think Corey mentioned a bike bell giveaway. It would be great to see if we could organize that.
Yep, that'd be great. I love bike bells.
I just want to say briefly, on the topic of like kids chatting on their bikes, kids riding side by side. I know our streets right now are kind of a battleground, but I think we can all agree that it would be great for us to create a neighborhood where kids can do that and be kids on bikes and get around independently and be safe. So I hope that that can be kind of like the image that we want, a situation where that's a good thing to see, right? Where the streets are so safe that kids can be kids and no one's really in danger.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I will say about 39th Avenue Bike Boulevard is that's one of the only spots in the city where I see teenagers riding their bikes in front of Sunnyside Gardens Park, that kind of very, very low traffic area. I would love to see kids riding their bikes all over.
Everywhere.
I think that's us at the end. I can call the end. Yeah. Is there a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to end the meeting.
Seconded? All right. All right, thank you so much. That concludes our Transportation Committee meeting. We'll see everybody at the full board meeting on Thursday.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night. Thank you very much for your comments.
Right.